Now, if you got just a second, I'd like to share a story about what happens when you try to force value out of something without knowing how it works. A buddy of mine bought an old safe at an estate auction. $50 I think he paid for this thing. Now it was rusted shut, had no keys, no codes, nothing. It was just this heavy, mysterious black box. Looked like it hadn't been opened since the Cold War. So he drags this thing into his garage like he just uncovered buried treasure. Might be gold bars, he was saying, and I was thinking, no, it's probably junk. And instead of calling someone who knows what they were doing, he grabs a crowbar and does what just about every other red-blooded American male would. He starts prying and hammering, grunting and swearing, and 2 hours later, he's totally wrecked one hinge. He's bent the door, but the safe is still locked, and his shoulders are shot. Now, a few days later, a neighbor comes over, and this guy's a retired machinist. He takes one look at the bottom panel and says, "Mind if I try something?" He taps around on it and slides something to the side. Click, the safe opens. Inside was a stack of silver coins, a few old bills, and a letter from the 60s. Now that's not jackpot money, but a few $100 in clean value still intact because someone knew how to open it the right way. Now here's my point. When there's real value on the line, brute force isn't strategy. You don't need a crowbar. You need someone who knows where to apply pressure and when to back off. Whether you're selling your home on your own or with a realtor, this part of the process isn't about muscle. It's about moves. The best outcomes don't come from guessing. They come from knowing what to say and when to say it and how to keep the deal moving forward without cracking the whole thing wide open. Selling your home is a lot like cracking that safe. Now, there's really true value inside, but getting to it, that's where strategy matters. Because here's what most sellers don't realize. The moment your home goes under contract, the real negotiations are just beginning. It happens when the offer comes in, when the inspection hits, if the appraisal comes back light, or if the timelines start to shift. Each of these moments is a fork in the road, and what you do next will determine whether you keep momentum or lose ground. So let's talk about what really happens once an offer does come in, because a lot of sellers tend to think the hard part is over at this point, when in reality, this is where things tend to get a little complicated. Now, if you're selling your home, especially without an agent, you need to consider more than the dollar amount they're offering. Pay attention to all the other details, such as what kind of loan is the buyer using? Are they working with a local lender or someone who might delay things? For example, out-of-state or online lenders tend to have requirements not necessary in your area, and this can cause delays. Are the buyers flexible on time, or do they need you out of the house in 2 weeks? How does that affect your time frame? These things do matter, but they don't always show up on the offer itself. They can make or break a deal later. And next comes the inspection. Most of these reports tend to be long and technical, and sometimes buyers react by asking for thousands off the price, even when repairs are minimal. It's their strategy, and you're going to need one of your own. And this is where sellers often get thrown off, and if you're not careful, you might agree to more than you should just to keep the deal together. The same goes for closing costs. A buyer might ask you to cover part or all of their closing costs, and that's not unusual, but it does affect your bottom line. You want to make sure you're looking at the full picture before agreeing to anything. And if they say they need more time to think it over, well, that's okay, but you should have a plan in place for how long you want to wait before moving on. And finally, there's the appraisal. If it comes back low, don't panic. Have a plan in place. This doesn't mean the deal is dead. You can challenge it, negotiate it, or terminate it if that's what's best, but you definitely want to work all the other angles first. The buyer may be willing to cover part or even all the gap. You won't know until you ask. The point is, every one of these steps is part of the negotiation. It's not about the price you accept, it's how you respond to what's coming next. If you're selling your home on your own, this is where preparation makes all the difference. And if you're working with an agent, this is the behind-the-scenes work they should be doing on your behalf. Either way, this part of the deal takes more than a signature. It takes a strategy. Knowing what to expect is only half the battle. The other half, knowing how to not lose your cool when the deal starts to heat up. The steps are predictable, but your reaction, that's what makes all the difference. So let's talk about what really matters in negotiations, because it's not all about tactics. It's about behavior too. Now, I've seen deals fall apart not because of money, but because emotions got in the way. The best sellers I've worked with didn't take a low offer personally. They didn't stress out over an inspection list, and they didn't panic if a buyer got quiet. They stayed focused, they stayed calm, and they asked questions before they reacted. So whether you're selling your home on your own or with an agent, here's the honest truth. Emotions are expensive. Strategy is not. So if you're selling your home, your job in negotiations is simple. Don't make emotion-based decisions. Make strategy-based ones. And like any good strategy, it's not about your next move. It's about the next 3. We'll talk about that next. Now let me give you a behind-the-scenes look at how I work deals, because every step of a home sale has more happening beneath the surface than most people even realize. When a home seller sees an offer, it's easy to get caught up in that price tag, but I sit back and examine all the other details along with it. I'm looking at who's making the offer, how strong their financing is, and how much competition we might be facing. And how can we respond in a way that puts us in the best position possible? And when a seller sees an inspection list, I see fuel for negotiation. I'm sorting through what actually matters to the buyer versus what's just a tactic to knock the price down. Not every item needs to be fixed, but every response has to be strategic. And when a seller hears, "We need more time," I'm thinking, don't let the momentum slow. Sometimes a buyer's delay is harmless, and sometimes it's a stall tactic. And knowing the difference between them helps keep the deal moving forward without giving away leverage. Behind every email, request, every silence, I'm reading tone, motivation, and timing. These things aren't just messages, they're signals. This is where real estate negotiation really happens, quietly and behind the scenes. And if you're not paying attention to the signals, they can shift the deal before you even realized it happened. Now you see that selling a home isn't just a transaction, it's a chess match. And if you're not playing offense and defense at the same time, you're just reacting. And in this game, simply reacting can cost you money. So if you're selling your home on your own, remember to stay sharp. And if you're working with an agent, this is the kind of behind the scenes work they're doing for you. Reading the room, seeing around corners, and always staying a few moves ahead. Well, now that you've heard how I approach negotiations, let's put you in the hot seat. Here's 3 real-world situations that I've seen play out numerous times over the years. And how you respond says a lot about how ready you are for real negotiations. Our first scenario, you've got 2 offers on the table. One is a higher offer, but the buyer needs to sell their home first. The other is lower, but they're pre-approved and can close quickly. So do you accept the higher offer and hope their home sells in time? Do you take the lower one for peace of mind? Or do you send back a counter to one of the offers or the other or both just to see who really wants the house? Our second scenario, you get a clean all cash offer, but it's $10,000 below what you're asking. It has no contingencies and can close fast. Do you take it and move forward? Do you counter back at full price and test how committed they really are? Or do you counter somewhere in the middle, hoping to land the deal without scaring them off? Our last scenario, the appraisal has landed. It's 12 grand shy. Now you're stuck between the price you wanted and the one the bank is willing to support. Do you drop your price to keep this deal alive? Do you ask the buyer to bring cash to cover that gap? Or do you challenge the appraisal and make the case with a stronger comp? If any of these scenarios made you sweat a little, you're not alone. Real estate negotiation isn't about being aggressive. It's about being ready. The best sellers don't guess their way through it. They spot the pressure coming, and they already know their next move. And whether you're going at it alone or with an agent, remember this is not the part of the sale where you wing it. Before we wrap this up, let me give you something that most sellers don't hear until it's too late. Here are 3 truths about real estate negotiation I wish every seller understood before they listed. Truth number 1, the first offer isn't always the best offer, but it's usually the most serious. Oftentimes, sellers get excited or offended by it, but that first offer is a hand being raised by someone who wants to buy your home. You don't have to say yes to it, but you do need to pay attention to it. Serious buyers tend to move first. Truth number 2, every offer comes with a team, and the buyer's agent is a big part of that. Good communication between both sides keeps things smooth, and when that's missing, even great offers can get rocky, so pay attention. And truth number 3, the buyer's lender plays a bigger role than most sellers realize. A solid offer can still fall apart if the financing is slow or unclear. Always ask who the lender is and make sure the pieces behind the scenes are just as solid as what's on the paper. These things don't show up on the offer sheet, but they show up in the outcome. They're the difference between a deal you merely survived and one you can be proud of. Well, here's what I hope you walk away with. Every part of a sale is a conversation. Negotiation is where your response matters the most. Stay calm, stay smart, and above all, stay strategic. This part of the sale is not where you wing it. If this video gave you some valuable insight, confidence, or sense of relief, hit that like button. And if you're preparing to sell, grab my free download below, the Home Seller Strategy Guide. It includes the negotiation tips that we just covered, along with the exercises I walked you through. Drop a comment with your toughest negotiation moment, and let's talk about it. Subscribe for more videos like this, and remember, the best deals don't happen by accident. They happen by design.